directly address Africa's real-world challenges. And key element of his position is a critique of the current system, the global academic metric of citation counts, and foreign journal publications is misaligned with Africa's needs. That is his position. And he also said that universities produce abundant research papers but fail to generate usable technologies, jobs, or even a local solution. In conclusion, he is saying stop measuring professional value by publications, measure it by inventions that feed, employ, and empower African communities. But in your own response, Mr. Idesom, you agree in principle with that stakeholder that his core message that African professors must shift from merely counting publications to actively building nations through innovation and invention. You also equally strongly defend professors and reframe the problem as systemic and institutional, not individual. You also agree in principle with the stakeholder that African professors must shift from merely counting publications to actively building nations through innovation and invention. However, you strongly defend professors and reframe the problem as systemic and institutional and not individual failure. Now, Mr. Esomi, how do you view the current balance between academic research and practical innovation within Nigerian universities?
Thank you for having me once again, and I'm glad to be able to contribute to this open conversation. Now, like I stated earlier, Nigerian professors are fantastic brains. Let me give you a quick background. If you check the statistics, when Nigerian students go abroad for further education, we have abundance of data to prove that they go there to excel in means and bounds. We show the dexterity because they learned under the Nigerian professors. So basically, Nigerian professors are very solid, sound, and brilliant people, right? So having said all that, it understand that whatever it is the challenge today is not the making of Nigerian professors, right? Like I said, it is a systemic issue. Nigeria as a whole, needs to find a way to appreciate the contributions of its professors. Now, for instance, let me draw a quick example. A popular a popular search engine that we all know globally was a PhD research many years ago. Today, that research has been commercialized and is used by virtually everybody on planet Earth. So what are we saying? This, if you trace the genesis of this research into product, into commercialization, you see that the kind of support that they got, for instance, one of their professors in the United States gave them $100,000 to support their innovation. And that money went a long way in building what is known as Google today. So the question is, how much of resources can our professors in Nigeria pull up from their personal pocket to support innovation? I mean, we're talking about increasing salaries of our professors in Nigeria today, just because we feel that what they are being paid is not visited. But what is clear, Nigerian professors are brilliant people, right? If you go back to university, you see that we've done a lot of researches, a lot of thesis, certain that will go places.
Right now, you have stressed that definitely Nigeria is not short of brains in our universities. Then where lies the problem? Why are we short of homegrown inventions that can accelerate the country's development? Is it only about funding or more than that?
Okay, so to be very direct, in my article, I quoted an organization called Thomson Reuters Organization. They conducted the research and found out that half of the most innovative universities, 50 of them, are in the United States of America. And from what we know, the US, have a way of specifically, rewarding innovators. For instance, there's a visa category that is strictly for innovators. If you are able to prove that you did this and you can sufficiently justify it, you can apply for this kind of visa to relocate to the United States. Right? So the challenge from a commercial point of view, every innovation, every idea requires funding to make it happen. So no matter how beautiful your idea or concept is, you need financial resources wherewithal to turn it into a product that can be used either for social services or for purposes. So we cannot go about the place of financial resources to be able to turn, for instance, universities abroad have funds of research and development, a dedicated fund that is basically, reserved to fund innovation, fund research, and fund the development. In this part of the world, it is very rare, because I believe that the focus, maybe gets shifted that direction. But then, it's not a lost case, like I said. The brain, we have it. We have it in abundance. Like I said, people move from Nigeria to abroad and they keep doing very well. Meaning that their foundation is very rock solid. Do you understand? I mean, you go abroad for a master's, your PhD, but you have your basics in Nigeria. You have young professors, in Canada, United States, Japan, South Korea, who have their first degree from AUA, EXTRO, and the likes. Because we have brilliant people teaching them, or who taught them around. So I believe that the missing link is funding. So if the government, who runs most of these universities by subventions, by grants, are able to, create a model, for instance, at the government level, they do this what they call tax breaks. Maybe they give multinationals, the tax breaks, they build this road, build that road. I believe that government can create, a special, model to bring together stakeholders in Nigeria or at state level to find a way to support, inventions, commercialization from the universities. I believe strongly this model can work because it has worked elsewhere. And like the popular person said, don't check what is working, just copy it and repeat it. Right? So the model has worked abroad. Is a research project. The people who, founded Google, Larry Page and Secretary, designed Google as a research project, a PhD research project. And at the end of the day, they were able to commercialize that. What the Google is built, Google is worth over trillions of dollars. It was built on a research, paper. Do you understand? So I believe that we can actually, make something very, good for Nigerian universities just by creating a dedicated fund, and direct to the universities, state, federal government, private universities, because overall it will contribute to the overall economic growth of Nigeria.
All right, now you've talked so much about redirecting funds, investing into the university system, investing into our professors that churn out a lot of publications yearly, investing into their ideas. And you've talked about government coming in there. You've talked about the private sector coming in there. But for you, what sort of collaboration do you expect from both the government and both the private sector and even the institutions to ensure that these ideas, these laudable ideas, are translated into economic development for Nigeria?
Okay, thank you. So the question is, what is the purpose of commercializing anything profits? And before you make profits, you must first invest. You cannot draw money from an account in the bank that has no money inside. So when federal government, the private stakeholders, and other critical personalities or individuals come together, they're able to sit down and work at modalities. For instance, okay, this particular universities were making 1 billion naira on people for seed, grants.
Mm.
Okay, use this to fund, your innovation ideas. Bring experts who can, evaluate, the product, market fit of that idea. Can be commercialized in, large quantities?
Mm.
Can it move beyond our borders? I mean, we have experts, who are great entrepreneurs who can validate these things and be sure that this thing can go to market. Just, put it in place, put resources together and commence the product. I remember, somebody making particular, one event that, just a lot of, amazing stuff, I needed support from the university. I'm not sure if that worked academically, but then we have people, and what we just need is money, resources, financial resources. If we have these financial resources, and it is laser directed to universities alone. I'm not referring to people outside universities, no. Let's work with the borders of the university, right? We can make a lot of things happen. We can make many products. Look at, the rise of China today. At every corner, how families, that are doing innovation. So imagine universities in Nigeria, and that's these universities, minimum one year bring three, products that are, actually viable for the universities. Imagine, and we're able to create the demand, the market for it, within Nigeria and outside the shores. Like I said, look at Google. Google started, there was no idea of how to make money from it. But eventually see what happened, Google functions, you can make ads on Google, you can do many things. And I mean, like I said, Google is worth trillions of dollars. So just put the ideas together, bring experts together. You should look at the viability of these things and chart the map going forward. And after this is done, of course, you make profits. So all the parties in the ecosystem, that you put together can take their share of the universities. 10% stays back on Apple, the federal government, 10% goes back to you, 10% goes to economic development. And before you know it, in 10, 15 years, we can measure and say, oh, this has actually, improved our crops. But thinking that we'll sit and expect different results, not going to happen. We have to be deliberate. America is deliberate with the funding they allocate to universities, because it's solutions. And for Nigeria, it can't be different because it has worked elsewhere, right? And I believe that it can work because we have many brilliant people in our Nigerian universities. And I strongly believe that if we do so, I can tell that it was a very different possible story in the nearest future.
Right now, your TED fund is like is more of a partner with the federal government when it comes to tertiary education funding. What is its role in all of this?
Well, that one, from my English understanding, literally with public universities, correct, right? So, majorly, all that I have seen, labor text form, send researchers abroad, and the fund infrastructures on campuses, and then that is the extent I have seen. I am unable
right, lastly and briefly before you go, what single policy change do you expect from government to turn all of this around?
Okay, so like I said, government needs to actually, look at a framework that allows partnership, functional, useful
Mm.
between scholars, investors, entrepreneurs. We need to have that, arrangement that allows, okay, for example, government says, okay, universities can enter into, commercialization agreements with notable brands
Mm.
that own grown and we're able to, that policy direction needs to be in place because of course everyone needs to go back or framework. So I believe that government can, create a forum where partnership can exist between scholars,
Mm.
investors who have the money and people who build businesses, come together, right? Then create a policy that allows only who to support directly. Create a scheme, for example, you have several companies and incentives to pay a particular tax that's for a particular purpose. So I believe government can actually work at the moment that allows this to also happen, right? So then, above all, the supervisory ministry, right, that oversees education is to actually have people who think like business people,
Mm.
more. It's a different thing to have idea. It's another thing to be able to turn that idea into a product. So, and what you don't have can be. So, if you have people who are so commercially minded, people can see opportunity every direction in corner. I believe that if you turn around the time and you can be able to start seeing, people, who can build business, if you want to create policies, because we know we have worked in the past before. We know what can actually
Work.
war exactly. So I believe that if government can look at these things, I think in 10 years, from now, Nigeria can be.
All right, thank you so much, Ayodeji Lesamio, the head Hansard University Center, Entrepreneurship and Development. This morning we've been taking a look at Innovation Nation, unlocking Nigeria's potential through its research work, turning its research work into practical solutions to drive economic growth and improve lives. Thank you so much, Ayodeji, for joining us on Business Today. Do enjoy the rest of your day. And now moving on the program, the next 2 minutes, take a look at what happened last week in the economy. President Bola Tinubu approved last week a 15% ad valorem import duty on petrol and diesel imports into Nigeria, ending a long-standing duty-free regime on refined petroleum products. The new tariff calculated on the cost, insurance and freight value of imports, is part of what the government describes as a market-responsive import tariff framework. According to the presidency, the measure is designed to protect local refineries, promote crude transactions in Naira, and boost competitiveness in domestic refining. Despite these reforms, reports indicate that imported petrol still makes about 67% of national demand, raising concerns over possible pump price increases. And analysts expect the policy to stimulate local refining capacity, support Naira-denominated crude trade, and to gradually reduce reliance on imported fuel. And Nigeria, along with South Africa, Burkina Faso, and Mozambique, has recently been removed from the Financial Action Task Force (FATF) Global Financial Crime Watch list of countries subject to increased monitoring for illicit financial activities. Nigeria was placed on the grey list in February 2023, but has now been removed after successfully implementing a 19-point action plan to enhance the anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism framework. While this removal is expected to increase foreign investors' confidence and reduce financing burden on businesses from grey-listed countries seeking foreign financing, economic watchers emphasize This can only be sustained with the active, continuous evolution of regulations and policies that reinforce transparency and compliance with AML CFT standards. And that's it on the program this morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. My name is Odwani Soya. Good morning.